Let's talk about the Melbourne Cup, and horse racing in general. The Melbourne Cup has seen a steady decline in popularity over the years, with 2019 being the year that really saw it crash and burn. What has been known as the race that stops the nation is now referred to by many as the race that disgusts the nation. It has been a tradition in this country since it first began in 1861, where 2 horses also died on the track. Since then, we've continued to celebrate all the glitz and glamour, with some notable international stars coming down under to join in all the revelry. We encourage a nation to normalise gambling, waste money on laughable outfits, and get embarrassingly drunk in public when we've already got a drinking problem. And what for? A horse race that lasts just a few minutes, when behind closed doors, these horses suffer torture and punishment. To give you some further context, in the last financial year, since August last year, over 149 horses have died on the racing tracks within Australia. That's a horse being killed by racing-related injuries every 2.5 days, more than in the previous year of 2019. The numbers are higher because even though we've been in a pandemic since the start of 2020, the horse racing industry has remained open. News began emerging that every year since 2013, at least 6 horses had died in the Melbourne Cup. Then, in 2019, the tipping point that no one was expecting. On Thursday, 17th of October, on the 7:30 report, ABC ran a story revealing that every year, hundreds of healthy retired racehorses are sent straight to the slaughterhouse, in what the racing industry refers to as wastage. The footage revealed more than just the death of innocent animals, unaware that they were about to end up as dog food. It revealed that these creatures were also being beaten, kicked, and shocked with electric rods in their final moments on the abattoir floors. No longer could this 19th century industry lie about their treatment of animals, because now it was proven their business is more than just exploiting animals for entertainment. This bombshell report rocked the media, was spoken about on every TV channel, radio station, newspaper, and was all over our news feeds. The chief executive of Racing Australia, Barry O'Farrell, immediately came out attacking the report, claiming he was appalled and shocked by what was shown. Racing Minister Kevin Anderson said it would make the racing industry members sick to their stomachs. The chief executive of the Victorian Racing Club, Neil Wilson, said the footage was horrific. Although all of them stressed their concerns, cracks in their claims of fair treatment kept surfacing. Racing Australia said that only 34 retired horses ended up at the slaughterhouse each year. However, true findings revealed the accurate number of retired racehorses sent to the abattoirs to be a whopping 10,000. 9,966, more than Racing Australia claimed. These horses have already been through enough in their short lives. The number should be 0. This information wasn't being disseminated by the RSPCA or even the government, but by an independent group called the Coalition for the Protection of Racehorses. Since 2008, this organisation has been campaigning for something to be done about the serious animal welfare concerns and the lack of transparency surrounding the horse racing industry. It's not just the fact that horses aren't given a fair retirement, it's the way that these horses are treated for their whole life in an industry they've been forced into for our entertainment. The website for the protection of racehorses, www.horseracingkills.com, lays out the life that these horses have to endure, and how these animals will never be treated fairly when they are being used for profit. For example, the industry races horses as young as 2 years of age, instead of the mature age of 5, which results in 85% of those horses experiencing an injury in the first year of the sport. Jumps racing, which is still legal in the state of Victoria, is a combination of horses having to run and jump over freaking barriers at ankle-breaking speeds. It's in fact 20 times more dangerous than flat racing, although last year's Melbourne Cup winner Gay Waterhouse disagrees, stating on ABC Radio Adelaide,
"They're the horses that love jumps racing. There are accidents, yes, horses do die and people get hurt. The thing is that it appeals to the everyday person. It appeals to the everyday Aussie."
Wow, I didn't know Gay had the powers of Dr. Dolittle and could speak to horses. Maybe she also believes Mr. Ed the Talking Horse from 1961 is based on reality. Claiming people love to be involved is also a big statement, considering that numbers were down to 20,000 at last year's Oak Bank Racing Carnival. compared to 100,000 in previous years. If she really can talk to these creatures, I wonder what they've told her about all the other abuse, such as racehorses showing signs of stress and depression, especially always kept in isolation and close confinement in stables, when they are naturally social creatures who prefer to run in herds. Or maybe it's the now illegal shock devices used on horses during training, known as jiggers, to painfully force them to run faster. Or could it be tongue ties, a device that immobilizes a horse's tongue to prevent it from getting bitten during a race and choking during high intensity exercises, which in turn creates swelling, cuts and lacerations. Finally, there's the infamous whip, normalized in racing culture, which inflicts pain and can even result in internal bleeding. Racing Australia rules require that only a specific whip can be used, known as the padded whip. There are also rules about the number of strikes that can be administered by the jockey. A total of 5 strikes during the race, with the last 100 meters having no limit of strikes at all. On top of that, there is no limit on the number of times a horse is slapped on the shoulder during a race. Like, what? Imagine using that same justification on a slave, or in the Passion of Christ. Hey, you can't use that whip on Jesus. Use this whip. It'll only hurt him a little less. Also, you are only allowed to use this whip 5 times, but you could slap him on the shoulders as many times as you like. Any whip that inflicts pain on any being is wrong. It doesn't matter if they're a horse or a human. In 2019, the CPR's campaign, Up to the Cup, gained support like never before. Businesses across the country publicly came out stating they would not support the event, with regulars like sponsored model Megan Gale not showing up. Then, the biggest pop star in the world at the time, Taylor Swift, pulled out of her Melbourne Cup performance 2 weeks before the event, due to what everyone assumes is the backlash from fans. On top of all of that, the hugely popular satire YouTube channel Honest Government Ads put out a video with their commentary on the industry. It went viral with almost 500,000 views, contributing to the inevitable decline of the horse racing industry. With all that said, if the abuse of animals isn't enough to convince you how bad the horse racing industry is, then maybe the cheating and the corruption might convince you. In October of, you guessed it, 2019, Melbourne Cup trainer from 2015, Darren Weir, was charged with animal cruelty, conspiracy, and weapons offences. Technically, all the trainers in the industry are guilty of animal cruelty, but Darren took it to the next level. Weir was charged with a total of 9 offences and 3 counts of causing unreasonable pain or suffering to a racehorse. At the time, this was the top guy in the industry being arrested for animal abuse, including in February, when Racing Victoria suspended Weir for 4 years, after police found electric devices used to shock horses on his property. What look does this give all the other trainers and the industry as a whole? By now, the statement "follow the money" couldn't be any clearer. Views and traditions change in society over the years, as people come to realise certain traditions just don't sit right with them anymore. Back in 1861, when the Melbourne Cup started, the Australian tradition of going to the pub was only reserved for men. It wasn't until 1865 that changed, thanks to a lot of protesting by women. And it wasn't until 1967 that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders were allowed the tradition of voting in their own country. It's finally time that we should shelve the tradition of horse racing. Until this tradition stops for good, more people must keep boycotting the industry. For now, support organisations like the Coalition for the Protection of Racehorses by heading to their website, getting involved in protests, and Up to the Cup events. You can also donate the amount you used to spend on the races to CPR or to animal sanctuaries like Forever Friends Animal Rescue to help retired horses find a home. Spread the reach of this video by liking, commenting, and sharing it on your socials. If we can keep increasing the volume of our opposition to this horrendous tradition of animal abuse, then there will come a day where, like all other terrible traditions, it will be left in the history books about the past, instead of an outdated celebration in the present.